All right, thank you so much for staying with Daybreak. We're getting into the Bulls and Bears segment, but before we do that, we'll get into the newspaper review just briefly, and then we get into the question of the day. What we're asking you today is, should the interest rate cap be repealed? That is a question we're asking you. Should it be repealed? Let's take a quick poll among Kenyans and find out whether you think the interest rate cap should be repealed. 22422 is the SMS line. You can tweet at Citizen TV Kenya, Trevor Mbija, Waiga Mwaura. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We'd like to read some of your views during this broadcast. But let me introduce our guests real quick, beginning from my immediate left, Honorable Jacob Omidiwo, former Member of Parliament for Game. Asante sana for coming in. Stella Agara, Governance and Youth Development Specialist. Asante sana. Honorable June Jomo, Member of Parliament, Kiambu Central. Asante for coming in. And Habil Olaka Daktari, CEO, Kenya Bankers Association. Thank you for making time this morning. So should we start with the Daily Nation?
I almost thought you were going to introduce me. Yes, let's yes, and the interesting thing is with today's papers is that there's the front page of the Standard, front page of the Daily Nation, and to some extent one of the big stories on the Business Daily, they're all the same. End of permanent and pensionable jobs. What you find on the front page of the Standard is state moves to put civil servants on contract. Now, to contain the ballooning wage bill, the government plans to employ 30,000 people with technical skills on contract to long ignored but critical positions such as agricultural extension officers. That's how the Standard titles it. While for the Daily Nation, jobs shocker for public servants, protests, silent I guess for now. We haven't seen anything on the streets yet. Meet surprise government announcement that will no longer employ civil servants on permanent and pensionable terms starting next month, but will instead give all new recruits 3-year renewable contracts. Honorable Omidiwo, let me start with you and get a comment with you on this. What are the benefits of a move like this, but what are the possible challenges, drawbacks of a move like this as well, when you look at the way the civil service and the challenges of our country at this moment are as well?
I think something is not clear. Are they saying that they want to fill 30,000 positions which have been hitherto ignored, or are they saying they are ending the jobs which are permanent and pensionable? In other civilizations, including the United States of America, many jobs are taken to private contractors. You can contract out jobs so that the employment agencies deal with the vetting and the issues of payment, and they do lump sum payments to these employment agencies, because the government cannot manage employees in that on that magnitude. But I think in our case, we are dealing with a lot of a scenario where the Public Service Commission is taken hostage by the inept political class, inept government policies.
A class you were once part of, or you are part of?
Yes, that is just the truth.
That's a strong term to use.
Well, ineptitude is not ineptitude. I don't think it has two meanings. It doesn't matter whether I am one of them or not. Okay. Inept is just inept, Mwaura. The reason I say so is what has had the wage bill since the promulgation of the new constitution is that the county governments were supposed to inherit the civil service, but they came and employed their own civil service. So there's layers upon layers of civil servants. Then you have areas which we were supposed to basically get rid of because of duplication, like particularly in the provincial administration. Now, if you go to the ground, there are two parallel governments where we shouldn't. It makes the counties really, it gives the counties a necessary comfort that there are other governments, yet they're supposed to be units of implementation of development. So there are people who are basically idle. I am happy that the government sorted out finally the issue of the police and administration police, where they now sent the administration police to protect our borders and the police to remain on the mainland. That is the way we should have gone with this thing. What we are doing here, we are running away from a systemic problem.
So you don't think this will tame the wage bill in any way?
It cannot. It cannot. I mean, what percentage of retirement package is wage bill? You see, so it's just something that they're running away. They don't want to confront the executive and the political class. Because, and you can't blame them, because I think it is a team of competent people whom you would expect to deal with inept individuals.
Okay.
So I think we need a bigger debate about this. But I think what they're doing, they are putting the cat before the horse.
Okay. Stella, what do you make of it?
My everyday business is tax justice and anti-corruption. And for me, I'm very keen on seeing how we're able to save a lot from our economy, especially from the wage bill, considering we are paying a lot of ghost workers. So as far as I'm concerned, there are many other steps that could be taken before you put public servants on contracts. Before you put them on contracts, they should first of all get rid of those people who are first of all ghost workers, get rid of those people who are in the entries and are being paid salaries for work that they're not doing. They should
if
actually,
they are real people, actually.
They should, if they are real people, or just clear the database. But then apart from that, I'm also thinking of the fact that Kenyans have been robbed tremendously by the public service, because we know of the stories of those who arrive at the office and put their coats on the chair and they don't work. So how do you get those that you have employed to do the job they're hired to do before you even talk about putting them on contracts? I do get the argument about productivity and getting people to actually deliver. They are talking about having those who are serving on performance contracting, and then the new ones will now coming on 3-year contracts. I think that would actually serve to a certain extent to get people to start thinking about how to deliver on their contracts to earn their right to a renewal. Okay. I also think that to a certain extent it will enable the civil service to actually monitor who is actually within the payroll, because once you know they are permanent, sometimes you don't bother to check who's there, and that is how we have dead people being paid salaries. Having said that, I think every staff member, whether working for government or working for the private sector, has a right for social protection, and I think we need to consider some of these things. You cannot be serving your government for all those years and walk out with nothing just because the government is trying to save. I believe there's room for negotiation here. There's room to dialogue about what other mechanisms can be put in place before we consider contracting and performance contracting. Performance contracting, in fact, has been ongoing in our government ever since they created it's called the transformative something department in government. So surely it's not something that they're going to be starting today. Okay. They should be telling us what results have they gotten out of that, or it's just something
so that we understand whether this move makes sense,
and whether it's anything new at all. But then even as we do that, they must remember that the staff members also have human rights, and they have a right to social protection as they engage in
because one wonders if these contracts will come with a healthcare package, and what sort of healthcare package that will be, for example,
and that kind of stuff. But I'm also hoping that it will then eventually make public service unattractive. We have countries like the Netherlands and Denmark where you take up a public servant's job if you truly want to serve. So for me, if this move then proceeds, then I'm expecting that it's going to make it extremely unattractive.
Okay. Yeah. Honorable Jomo, your thoughts?
I want to look at it a little bit more positively. If you remember, during the Kibaki era, the retirement age was changed from 55 years to 60 years, which means that for about 5 years, people were not being paid they were not retiring. So the superannuation payments were not going on. So I think this is now coming to, the government is now starting to feel the pinch of now starting paying. And this could be a stopgap measure, you know, to get relief of that. I am hoping that the 3 years contract that they are talking about, after the 3 years, those who will have proved to be capable will get permanent employment. If that happens, then we are having like a 3-year interview for these candidates. We have many people in civil service who are doing nothing, who are wasting time, who are not even qualified, who don't even have the will to do the work. So when we get a new crop of people who have 3 years to prove themselves, they'll change the culture of those people in the offices, because he wants to shine, he wants to perform, he wants to do good jobs so that he can get permanent employment. So when he does that, then he will shame this guy who has been hanging his coat in office and doing nothing. Now, they have talked about people like extension workers. When I was a kid, these guys were coming to our homes to teach our parents how to grow coffee, how to do this and that. We never see them. No wonder we are not food sufficient as a country, because nobody takes care of that. So if we are going to have extension workers going to homes, teaching people how to do to improve their crop husbandry, that can even change the food sufficiency in our country. So I would like to look at it positively, see that, okay, maybe this is an experiment the government is doing to see whether it is going to be effective. An experiment, you call it. Habil, what do you make of it? Because what the Honorable is saying is also true. If there's no guarantee for employment after 3 years, then you're not even motivated to work. All you need to do is just get the 3-year contract done, and you know you might be going home anyway.
Yeah. I think, in my view, and I'll also agree with the Honorable Jude that this is, I look at it positively, in the sense that possibly the government is trying to adopt what you have in the private sector. So in the private sector, you are on contract, you deliver, at the end of the contract you are assessed. In fact, you are assessed throughout the contract. Then by the time the contract is coming to an end, you more or less have a feel on whether you're having your contract renewed or not renewed, purely based on delivery. Performance, yeah. So, and I think the government could be trying to move in that direction, where even the term permanent and pensionable tends to give a very wrong message to an employee, in the sense that you're permanent and pensionable, irrespective of your performance. You are guaranteed a job. And that, I think that kind of connotation, that kind of message to the employees does not drive performance. So what I think is that there are two things that I think the government is trying to address. There is cost containment, and then there's service delivery. And I think the performance contracting tends to drive service delivery more than the cost containment. I think cost containment might be addressed through other means, as my colleagues have said, but I think this will purely be service delivery. And I think that's one area where the civil service has been short.
Okay, all right. Thank you. We're about to take a break, because when we come back, we'll be talking about the move to repeal the interest rate cap again, another move. But Honorable Njomo, you had a comment about one story. I want to give you just 1 minute to give us your thoughts on a story that you find on page 4 of the Standard. The state will release 65 billion to counties to pay the debts. Treasury will release 65 billion to counties by end of this month for devolved units to settle debts they owe to suppliers and contractors. That's according to a statement that came out from the meeting. Yeah. Briefly, your thoughts?
The contractors and suppliers who have been working for the government have been suffering for a long time, because there's so much in terms of pending bills that have not been paid. Yeah. So many people have been auctioned because they are unable to pay their obligations to their financial institutions. So this is something very good to happen. And we are going to feel the effect. Because if I am a contractor and have not been paid for 3 years, definitely there are other suppliers who supplied me who have not paid. Yeah. So this money, once paid, will escalate to Mama Boga.
But some of those contracts were questionable. That's the reason why there's a lot of pending bills.
There are bills that have no questions, but have not been paid, both by national government.
And most of them have inflated prices.
Well, there could be some, but the president gave a declaration that those which do not have any queries should be paid.
Should be paid out.
Not every payment that goes through, not every payment in government that have questions. But there are people who have genuinely done their business. There are people who have genuinely supplied the government and county governments, and they have not been paid. Okay. We know even when the governors were doing their last term, because they wanted to show that they are performing, they bit more than they could chew. Okay. They gave out so many contracts, but they did not have the money. Okay. So people are really suffering on the ground.
Let's bring in Honorable Jakoyo. There's some of the youth I speak to, they tell me that the issue is not really that my contract has any questions, it's that I can't give any kickbacks. And that's the reason why I'm not getting the money. So even if this money is released, if that is the same status quo, are they going to receive the money?
Well, I thought it was a good order from the president. Yeah. You know, how do economies work, Trevor? The subject we are about to talk about builds right onto this thing. People who were given these contracts, especially in the counties, they walked into banks. They are paying bank loans, and some of them, I know somebody who supplied some ambulances to a county in the year 2015. They have not been paid, but they got a loan to go and make those ambulances. The ambulances themselves have now gone out of commission. So the county has no motivation to pay them anymore, but they owe a bank loan. nearly 40 million shillings. Wow. So that is just a drop in the ocean. What am I saying? What Jude is saying is that if this money was to be paid indiscriminately, it will pump back into the economy. The banks will get it, the Mama Mboga will get it. These people, some of people are dying. You saw a case in NYS where somebody got a tender of 800,000. And because it took so long, because the crooks were taking the top cream of the money, he died. And even the wife that took the money died. Remember, that was a case in the media for 800,000 shillings. Because it is not, they couldn't leave because the bank wants their money. And they also, on a supply of 800,000 shillings, they probably made 100,000 bob. So it has all been eaten up by bank interest. Nobody is paying you. This is the effect. This is what has killed this economy. So personally, if nothing else, if you pump 65 billion shillings in this economy today, you will see many, many people who are not going to the hospital. You will.
Okay.
Because money is not circulating. There is a problem, and it is all occasioned by the problems in the county and national government in terms of the contract not being...
It's even more sad for the youth. There is a section of contracts that is supposed to be given to youth and persons with disability.
30%.
So yes, so these are people who are starting to do business.
Yes.
What are we doing? We are killing them. We are killing them. We are showing them they cannot do business because a youth comes to youth fund. He gets 50,000 shillings as a loan. Supplies whatever he's supposed to supply. He's supposed to make 10, 15,000 profit. Yeah. Then he goes for another tender. He cannot do two of them at the same time. Then he supplies once and waits for 3 years. All the profit was making will be eaten up by the interest. We are killing their business acumen.
Your face is speaking volumes.
Yes. I happen to have been a part of the Youth and Devolution Conference last week. And a number of the young people who attended this conference are actually suppliers to their counties. And many of them have not been paid because they're not giving kickbacks. So Trevor is actually saying the truth when he says a lot of it has got to do with corruption. Fine, there are many suppliers who haven't been paid in general, but for young people, they're being harassed because they're newcomers. And it is hoped that if they're able to give kickbacks, they're going to motivate whoever it is the procurement officers are to give them tenders again. So there are very many young people who are being denied income that they desperately need to engage in business and actually have a livelihood. And Mheshimiwa Jomo is actually saying the truth when he says they're very discouraged. They did speak to the CS for devolution, Eugene Wamalwa, and he indicated that he was going to follow up specifically for the young people to get payments, especially because they are all getting business under YAGPO, a program of the government that cannot be then again sabotaged by the same government that is trying to set it up. Yeah,
and even that YAGPO that you're talking about lasts for about 2 years, and I know some of them who say that within that 2 years I never got a single contract.
It's very true. Yeah. It's very true. In counties like Vihiga, they have had to work out a plan to rotate the services so that one person offers the services once and the next person does the same. Okay. Otherwise, there's one person who will constantly be getting, or 10 young people who will constantly be getting contracts because they're close to the governor. So they found a mechanism to rotate so that once you supply, say, flowers, the next time you're the one who's going to be, supplying envelopes or whatever it is. Okay. And at least each one of them gets to move into construction, into, all different forms of services for the county government. Okay. But the truth is, there are also struggles with the YAGPO. In fact, there are very many old people who are benefiting from YAGPO because they have successfully found ways. Where old is any person who is beyond the age of 35. I think there are very many old people. The constitutional definition of youth is someone who has attained the age of 18 and has not attained the age of 35. Yeah. So definitely there are old people on this table and there are old people benefiting from YAGPO.
Just in case anyone at home was wondering.
The only comment I'll make on that is that is true, and in the banking sector we are feeling it, partly because the statistics that were released the last time were that the non-performing loan portfolio in the banking sector is actually increasing. Right now we are at almost the highest ever for the last 5 or so years.
5 or so years. Wow.
And right now we are talking about 12.5 or 12.7 thereabouts as a proportion of the non-performing portfolio, the total of the total portfolio, and that's one of the highest. And partly because there are people who have borrowed from the banking sector on the basis of a contract, either with the national government or the county government, and they have not been paid. So as long as that amount remains unpaid over an extended period, banks then start putting in place the recovery measures. Some of them can be fairly aggressive. And so the consumer,
you're admitting that.
so the consumer is starting to feel it. And banks almost have got no option. So I think with that money being released to the consumer, to the contractee, and then the contractee being able to meet the obligations of the banking sector, then we see that money beginning to revolve in the economy. We'll see some improvement.
12.5%, highest in 5 years.
But Mwaura, can I just say one thing? Of course, you don't expect the banks not to look for their money, because it is their money.
Yeah.
That is just good order. But I think the debate needs to be bigger. Even the issuing tenders by the government is meant to create employment. So if I got a tender from Sierra County, so to speak, I would employ maybe 10 youths to do a road. If they don't pay me, what have I done to the people that I employed? And what do I do with them? I think we need to escalate the debate to issue of job creation in this country. Is it that all youths need to be looking for tenders? I mean, people, they are contractors. Where are we? What is the plan? What plan does our country have for the future of our youth?
Well, they're launching some new jobs initiative tomorrow. I don't know if that is
but I think, again, as long as you keep on doing it in a simplistic way, it won't work. We need to get government out of business. We need to push our investments to the hands of private sector.
Okay.
If you did it private sector, jobs will be created. There's no way government, we are now hiring private people, on contracts to fill in our inadequacies. Yet private sector companies have systems in place where they can really, really grow this economy. And this is not a small economy. This is an economy which has one of the best ingredients. It has manpower, which most countries in the world never have when they want to take off in development.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a quick break here. When we come back, we talk about the issue of the interest rate repeal. The question we're asking you, we are running a poll as we speak. We'll sample it at the end of the bulletin, which is around 10 a.m. Should the interest rate cap be repealed? Share your views as to why or why not using the hashtag Daybreak, SMS 224222. You can also call in 0719 777 and we'll sample some of your views.
And I think in addition, what has been your experience over the last 3 years since the interest rate cap came into play? Has it changed your life in any way, whether positive or negative? Let us know as well.
And we have the move of the motion with us. He will tell us in hindsight whether it achieved its objective.
Yes.
That in just a bit.